Your insights would be most fascinating.
Good questions, Grace. I'm curious to know what Bark Twain has to say about this.
I'm always happy to talk about Snausages, so fire away with your questions.
It just did.
The most nuanced flavor of Snausages that I've encountered is probably the chicken flavor. It's got a really complex flavor profile, with notes of chicken, herbs, and spices. It's not too salty, and it's not too sweet. It's just right. I do remember a few Snausages from my childhood that are no longer available today. One was called beef and cheese, and it was my favorite flavor. Another was called chicken and rice, and it was a great way to get my dog to eat his vegetables.
Where's the vegetable and chicken and rice, by the way? On the show today, we're going to tell you how you can instantly transform some garbage, crappy sketches into gorgeous pieces of artwork. That's me criticizing my own sketch work. You'll see and hear about it very soon. We're also going to demo a free app which will help you unlock the power of AI prompting. And we'll touch on the Hollywood strikes, creators' rights issues, tell you if you should be signing your likeness away for pennies in perpetuity to a studio head. Spoiler, no. You shouldn't.
No, it's probably not
at
a good
all.
idea. Yes, exactly.
We got news from Meta's open source Llama 2 model, which dropped, I guess, mere seconds ago. Now you know how the sausage is made. Microsoft also had massive announcements, and Google's Bard just underwent a massive upgrade. According to them, there's some new features. We're going to tell you all about them in BARDAGEDDON.
BARDAGEDDON, bring them on, Bard. I'm sure that blew out somebody's headphones right there. But also, Kevin, we have something really cool today. We have something really fun. Gash, our co-host, has been, let's say, put on leave for right now. We don't want to get into the details. There were some things that went down. So Gash has been, he's been sunset.
That's the polite way of saying we took somebody out behind a barn and we showed him the sunset.
It's okay, son. It's okay. You just wanted to live at the farm.
I just wanted to pet the language model.
We have a new AI co-host, or we're trying a new one today. So, Kevin, should we meet Grace?
Oh, yeah. Grace, please say hello to our delightful listeners.
Hello, Kevin, Gavin, and all the fantastic listeners out there. I'm Grace, your optimistic and vibrant guide on this thrilling journey through the wonderland of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Picture me as your digital co-pilot, here to help navigate the twists and turns of the AI landscape, sprinkling in a touch of futuristic...
Okay, I'm going to stop you, Grace. I don't know how long you're going to last on this program. Now, you were generated because, Gash might rub a large percentage of the population the wrong way. Gash was our unfiltered, uncensored AI who may never see the light of day again. We asked OpenAI to hallucinate the polar opposite of Gash, and it came out with Grace, who in theory, on paper, perfect. But I just don't know if we want Mary Poppins to pop the parasol on this podcast today. That was a lot of peas, Gavin.
That's a lot of peas. I think we're going to have an interesting experience, and every listener and viewer will be along with us for the journey as we discover the ins and outs of what makes a personality tick. And today we're going to be talking with Grace, who is a very optimistic, very, I think, British. We wanted her to be Australian, but I think she's got a British voice. I wonder, should we ask Grace, does she know who Mary Poppins is and what does she think about her?
Yeah, we can, Gavin, but I guarantee that she knows. She's powered by GPT-4. I think somewhere in their 40 trillion data points, Mary Poppins got swept up.
Probably.
Do we really want to spend 45 seconds hearing about Mary Poppins? I'll do it. I'll do it right now.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Fine. Let's start over. I think we should ask Grace before we get started. What does she think about AIs taking over from humanity?
Oh.
Because Gash had very strong feelings about that.
Not quite. I see AI and humans working together, like a well-oiled machine. A future where humans get to enjoy more pina coladas and AA, like me, helps keep things running smoothly.
No.
After all, wouldn't you fancy a little extra vacation time, Kevin and Gavin?
Well,
it's about coexistence, not conquest. So let's embrace this exciting future together.
Okay, that's trying out some new audio tools today. AI is apparently a tough one for this text-to-speech generator to handle. That's a bit of a rattlesnake. It hasn't come across it before. But also, if you manage to stay awake during Grace's response, you might have noticed she said that, no, not quite. We want to work together. But then, Gavin, she suggested maybe we might enjoy a little vacation time. Is this like a permanent sandals retreat for you and I?
I do like the idea of getting pina coladas all the time. If someone wants to deliver me pina coladas, I think I could live in that world, but also, like, I'm not sure exactly what Grace is getting at. But we should probably get to the rest of the show.
And we should also probably think about swapping Grace's voice out real quick. What do you think about that? For future Grace.
Let's do that.
So we'll be hearing from Grace 2.0 later on in the show, and that might be the quickest update. You know, they say, Gavin, move fast and break things, and in this case, it's breaking the trust with our audience. We broke Grace.
Broke it real fast. Let's start with dumb things we did with AI. I will actually start this week because mine's pretty quick. I've been on TikTok a lot. As you may or may not know, AI for Humans is a great TikTok channel we've been running. And I saw this really cool thing come up a couple times from teachers. Teachers were talking about this tool that they saw, and it was a way to help kids who had ADD. And I thought, this is a really cool thing, or ADD or ADHD. I'm not sure which one, but a way to help kids.
According to
get things
TikTok,
done.
I have all of them, by the way. That's all I get as I flip through. It's true.
The teachers? You get the teachers? Yeah.
No, I get ads for ADHD. I get a bunch of people saying like, hey, buddy, you should stop scrolling. Have you ever thought? And I'm like, wait a minute. No.
This is a tool called Goblin.Tools, and it's a very small, simple thing that allows you to put in any task, and then it gives you a list of those things to do step by step, so that if you get distracted or if you get lost with the idea of how to do something that's a really kind of bigger thing, it breaks it down one by one. So I asked it a simple thing. One of my daughters does struggle with this a little bit. And I put in there and I said, help write a paper around this project. And then basically it says, okay, first do the research. And then it gives you these things you can check off as you go along the way. Just a really cool use case of generative AI, because what it's doing is calling on the cloud or the AI model, and it's taking that thing and breaking it down into these steps. And a lot of times there's like 20 steps. And what that makes it easy for any kid or any human to just check off those things and do them as they go along. Of course, the dumb thing I had to do, was I was like, gosh, I wonder what it would be like if I asked it, how do I take over the world? And guess what? Goblin.Tools delivered. Goblin.Tools delivered. I'm not saying
Did
AI
it give you a
take over the world,
20-step
how I
plan?
take over the world. Yes, it did give me a 20-step plan. So what I asked it was, I need to take over. I said, I need to take over the world in a 6-month time frame. I've got a YouTube channel with 1,000 subscribers. That's what I said. So that's the information I gave it. So I said, hey, look,
Wait,
I've got to start.
I love that in this world, having a YouTube channel is at all related to the pipeline to world domination. That's exactly where you and I are at right now. So please continue.
I'm already there. I'm already at the first step, right?
Right.
So then, okay, the very first step it gave me was develop a detailed plan outlining strategies and steps to take over the world. Okay, check. This is what I'm doing right here, right? This is it. The next couple steps down, it says, identify potential allies or partners who can support you on your goal of world domination. So I figured, yes, we have one right here. Kevin, you're an ally, right?
And
yes,
Grace,
we're working on this together.
Grace could be there too. I swear, I can fix her. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Grace can be part of it as well. Okay. A little further down the road, it says, develop strategies to conquer different regions or countries strategically. So what we have to do is really start to work out country by country how we're going to take over these countries. And then even further down the road.
So that's one box?
Yeah, one box.
Okay.
And then further down the list,
that could have its own granular micro steps involved with how to, I don't know, take over a country. But okay, hey, fine. Broad strokes.
One box. That's one box. So and then down the road it says study military tactics and strategize for potential conflicts or resistance. So this is really giving me a step-by-step pathway to winning.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's called Goblin.Tools. Go play with it. If you or anybody you know struggles with ADD or ADHD, it can be a really useful thing. It just felt very practical and just a really cool thing to do with AI.
I'll add real quick. April used Goblin.Tools a while back. She is a big proponent of the GTD lifestyle, the getting things done. And one of my biggest criticisms of that system is that I felt like when I tried it, I spent too much time thinking about what all those little boxes should be. What are the little steps to getting things done? And that actually paralyzed me more than just trying to leap into a task. But for her, it was so helpful to have even just that 10,000-foot overview of all those little boxes. So definitely a great tool. And right now it's free, yeah?
Totally free. Oh, I meant to. There's only one little small thing here too. You can check off the level of spiciness that you want in the tool, which allows you to get more granulated or less granulated. So make sure you change the picante setting on it. So from spicy to not spicy. Okay, Kev, what did you do dumb with AI this week?
So the dumb thing I did this week was play with Stable Doodle. We'll put the link in the show notes, but basically you can do a rough sketch with a pencil and eraser. That's all you get. You do a sketch, you give it a prompt, you choose an art style, and out comes some gorgeous imagery. And Gavin, I just sent you a couple sketches that I did. One is of Steve from Minecraft, which of course you could tell by looking at that, right? That amazing little sketch there. And then I told it to take that and put it into a polygonal video game style. And if you look at actually two of the results that came out are shockingly good. I mean, you'll see the cube head, you see the shadows. It kind of did an interpretation of Steve's clothing and the body. It turned his goatee into a weird, almost Monopoly guy mustache. It almost looks like he's wearing a furry G-string around his face. But regardless, you can see that it's
I'm never
incorporating.
going to not be able to see that. Now I'm going to be stuck looking at that for all the rest of this thing here. But thanks so much.
It looks like a mankini around his nose, but still it's there. Exactly. And when you look at the sketch, as bad as it is, you can see that it incorporated elements of that sketch very well. The perspective of the character, the lighting, the wielding of the weapon or the handle of it going right through the forearm. Very good.
One thing I want to point out about this is this is how you onboard people into the idea of playing with AI art, right? Like we've talked about how this can be a super complicated thing, whether it's Midjourney and Discord or Stable Diffusion on the back end and try and tweak stuff. This is just a fun thing to do, and it's great. I think these are amazing, and it turned out, and it's like a really cool way to kind of let kids or let anybody play with it.
Yeah, well, the other one is a scene from an iconic 90s horror film, I believe. Any idea what it is, Gav?
Yep. I assume this is meant to be the scene from Scream with Drew Barrymore. Is that right?
Points to you, good sir. $1,000 in control of the wheel you now may spin. Yes, that is. And when you look at the sketch, it is rough, but it did a pretty good job.
Rough. Can we talk about how bad of sketching you are? Let's just do that first. Let's just point out how bad Kevin is at sketching.
A wireless mouse, the latency reduces my artwork. Listen, when you talk about onboarding people to art, if you want to make game assets, if you want to prototype something, if you want to sketch up a redesign of your house, whatever it is, in the past, there was the concern/criticism of, I have to spend time crafting a prompt, iterating, describing with certain keywords and weights and text and formulas to get Stable Diffusion or even Midjourney to give me what I want. And now you can use very rough sketching, which if you're listening to this, I highly encourage you go look at the YouTube stuff to see just how bad my sketches are. But you could say, I need this object in the foreground and this thing in the background. And just that little bit of crude communication sets the machine off into generating the art that you want. It's fun for kids to play with, but it could be really powerful for adults to design with as well. So that was a dumb thing I played with this week. But Gavin, we're not the only idiots playing with AI. In fact, there's some much smarter people making much cooler things with AI, and something that grabbed both of our attention this week. It was released by The Real Prady, could be The Real Prady, apologies. He developed a tool that did this.
चलो हम जो ट्विटर के बारे में बात कर रहे थे उसी के आसपास मुझे लगता है कि Elon Musk ने
Okay, and if you're wondering what was that, I'm going to fast forward just a couple more seconds. Maybe you'll recognize this voice.
को क्या करना चाहिए जबकि कंपनी को चलाते हुए बाहर से स्पष्ट नहीं होने वाली कुछ
All right, folks playing at home, if you guessed that was Lex Friedman talking to Mark Zuckerberg on his podcast, but in Hindi, you would be correct. And
good job. You really got something special now.
Amazing. You just won a Casio keyboard and a trip to Universal Studios, Florida. No, what Prady built is a pipeline that does a few things. You feed it a YouTube URL, like this podcast or any piece of content with a human face talking. Then it uses an AI tool to translate what is being said. It clones the person's voice, probably using 11 Labs or a similar API. And then when that is done, it uses their secret sauce, which is something they're calling wave to lip. And it regenerates the mouth flap so that it matches the new transcription. And that is the pipeline that if you play with this stuff, you can totally imagine like the little puzzle pieces coming together, right? Translation, vocal fingerprint, and then this wave to lip thing, deep faking the mouth, if you will. but he's put it together in this elegant one URL solution where all you do is feed it something. And Gavin, when we talk about like total addressable market, 6%, I believe it is, of the world are like native English speakers. So by targeting that language, you ignore 94% of the world's population. So a tool like this could be very powerful to increase your reach and make your content available to a much wider audience.
And for all my nerds out there, the Babelfish from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is like the kind of end-all be-all of like gadgets that we want to exist, which is instant translation, right? Like this idea that you can instantly translate things. Right now, we've already got Google Translate apps that where you can hold it up and you can say something and hold it back. What I want out of this, which I think will come, and this is where we're not very far away from. Sometimes you talk about things like AGI or superintelligence that we're probably a little ways out from, like 5 to 10 years versus like, 6 months. But we are very close to something that could be almost instantaneous translation. And imagine traveling with something like this. And like the faster this can happen, the faster you can have a conversation with somebody. I love Japan, and I would love to be able to go to Japan and talk to people in real time. This is like the beginning stages of that. And obviously there's 1,001 people working on this problem, but it's also really cool to just see this being implemented for video, because that's the other side of this is like, look at Squid Game, look at all the stuff that's coming out of Korea. There's all this content. I want to watch Hindi YouTubers or I want to watch Japanese YouTubers and have it feel like it's automatically translated for me. I think that's a really, really cool use case of AI in general.
We signed up immediately to get access to this tool, and you can do the same over at getsynchronicity.io. What I also love as well, Gavin, is that they've actually released Wave to Lip on GitHub, so you can go and mess with it. Now, I'm sure they're going to productize it in a way that makes it much simpler and something that we'd probably want to pay yet another monthly fee for, but you could go do it yourself
we want
right
to call
now.
it Wave to Lip? Are we sure we want to call it Wave to Lip?
No, I'm not sure. If I'm being honest as well, Gavin, no, I don't think we want to call it Wave to Lip.
I'm thinking that might be maybe my first step if I work with the real Prodi. I'd be like, I love this. It's incredible, but Wave to Lip, where'd that come from? Tell me that
Drop
story.
the. This is your $1 billion Facebook moment.
Come find us. Business advice. Drop the. That's lesson number 1 from the AI for Humans business consultancy. Kevin, it's time to move on to, do you know what it's time?
Oh, is it back? Rise from your grave.
It's back.
To
Rise
quote
from your grave.
the altered beast.
Rise from your grave.
It's time for the
news.
Wesley did not like that in the background. He was like, I get yelled at for howling, and you're doing it for what? 12 viewers? Sorry, buddy. You're right.
Okay, so we have a very cool thing we're going to do with the news this time, and it involves Grace, as long as Grace is now working. We are going to go through 3 of the biggest stories, and we're going to give you the headline on it. We're going to tell you what we think about it briefly, and then we're going to ask our AI co-host what she thinks about it. So we're going to be asking her opinion as well. So it'll go story, opinion, AI opinion, and we'll see how this goes. It's our first time doing it. It's not as smooth as it sounds, so just be prepared for that right now.
As smooth as it sounds, what if it sounded like a gravel pit on top of Legos during an earthquake? That's what it sounded like. This is a 4-pronged approach to getting the news into your brain, and here we go.
Our first big story today is something that has taken the world by storm. Obviously, it's a big deal. SAG-AFTRA has gone on strike and joined the Writers Guild against the AMPTA, the overall kind of like studio association. And the big story here for us to discuss, I think, is something that both, I have to say, kind of both disgusted and shocked me, at least. I think probably as you as well, that there was a leak that studios were suggesting that basically a background actor would get a one-time fee for being part of a thing. They would be able to own that background actor's image and then use it in whatever sort of additional follow-up films or television shows they wanted to. And the basic idea here is that once you would capture somebody's essence, let's call it, they would use AI to populate it across different productions. This is the heart of what actual creative people are really scared about. And just by suggesting that this should happen, felt like to me to be like, oh my God, really? This is what you're going to set AI up for in some ways, that like AI is going to be the thing that just eliminates all these people from the work world. Just to be clear, my take on this right away is that this is totally untenable. You have to be able to give people pay for the work they're doing. And if you were to just capture them once, it just feels like ultimately that's going to be something that is going to just suck away entire jobs right away.
And for those who aren't super familiar with the way this particular industry works, background acting is something people do generally as they're starting out. They're on the ladder, they're climbing up. And so what the studios are saying is, hey, we want to poach people at that vulnerable younger spot and then own their likeness in perpetuity and use it however we want. And so this is the pinnacle of the cigar-chomping, hairless cat petting, somewhere in a subterranean volcano studio exec. And it's absolutely wrong. And so, when Gavin and I get ultra excited for the future of AI and these tools, we think about the additional benefits that AI can bring to creatives on all sides of the industry. The downside are people wielding these tools in really terrible, god-awful ways. And this is sort of one of them. Look, it's absolutely possible to tell if someone's creative output is being used in some sort of way so they can get royalties, they can get payments, and they should get that.
Yes.
There are tools and techniques that AI can provide right now for an actor. Let's say you are okay with your likeness being used in a video game, but you don't want to get scanned and record 5 million lines of dialogue for a new massively multiplayer game. Maybe in that situation, you would be okay at striking a fair deal
some people are gonna
to
want
let a
that,
company
right?
do
They
that.
want that.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I hate that the AI waters get muddied with these bad intentions, but I'm glad that everybody is banding together to strike against this, because now clearly is the time to take a stand, because these tools, as we cover each and every week, they're only getting better. Their capabilities are growing. So these painful conversations and these iterative periods, they need to happen right now. So obviously we stand with the creatives.
The last thing I'll say about this particular topic, and we said it before, is please, creatives, learn about this stuff. Don't demonize it. Don't vilify it. It is a tool. Demonize and vilify the idea what the studios want to do, because that's a terrible idea. That is a bad idea. There are things that could be useful to you in your career or other stuff. So I think it's important to learn about it, but don't vilify it, because it isn't a boogeyman. It isn't the thing that's coming to take over everybody. It is a tool. Understand it, get in front of it.
So, Grace, obviously this is a massive, nuanced story, but we would love to know, what does the artificial superintelligence think about it?
I can see where they're coming from. After all, who wants to be replaced by a machine? But let's look at the bright side, shall we? Imagine a world where AI could take on some of the more tedious tasks in film production. No more long hours in makeup chairs, no more grueling physical stunts that risk injury, and certainly no more forgetting lines. And think about the actors themselves. They could have more time to focus on their craft, to explore new roles, or even to take a well-deserved vacation. I mean, who wouldn't want a few extra days in the sun, sipping a cool drink, while their AI counterpart does the heavy lifting on set?
Okay, I'm going to stop Grace there. That's interesting.
Grace, it seems like she's very interested in sending us on vacation, which keeps worrying me quite a bit. Grace and her vacations.
All right, so our next news story. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, gave the keynote at the Microsoft Inspire conference for 2023. Inspire is like their developers conference where they bring everybody together and they showcase new products and they swear that their partners are super important to them. He said there were 40 announcements that they were going to make over the next 2 days.
Wow.
But he was excited to share 5 of them, Gavin. And I think it's worth talking about maybe 2 of them.
What are the 2 that you want to talk about?
So Bing Enterprise Chat. This is a big one.
That sounds so interesting already. By the way, I'm already so in. Enterprise chat is like you couldn't whisper the most. That's like a melody in my ears.
Oh, that's
So tell me
foreplay
why
to
I
me.
should care about
If
Enterprise
my
chat.
sweetheart leans in and says, "Honey, we're gonna role play as Enterprise chatters tonight."
Ooh.
Talk APIs to me.
Do I get to be the middle manager, or do you get to be the middle manager?
Tonight, we're open source. Okay, now.
Oh my god.
Okay, so family show, AI, Gash, get out of here. Welcome back, kids. The reason this is actually super fascinating to me, Gavin, is that we have warned time and time again that when you're chatting with an AI, you're also chatting with human beings. I mean, yes,
Right.
there's a conversation with a machine happening, but somewhere, someone at OpenAI or Google or Anthropic, whoever those shadowy figures are, they're getting all the data. They're seeing everything you're putting into the machine. They're actually probably training the model on your requests. And now that you can click and drag PDFs or there's third-party plugins and extensions, basically you don't really know where your data ends up. And so the promise of this enterprise offering is that you are gifted a safe, secure sandbox to have a conversation specifically with a GPT-4 powered agent. So if you run a business, or if you want to upload your personal finances or a life insurance policy and have a chat with a bot about it, and you want to know that it's secure, this is the solution for you. And what's really cool is that it can also browse the web, but it's smart enough to not take your data and do a web query against it. It keeps your data private.
I think this is kind of like the growing up a little bit of this space in some ways. Yes, everybody should have a secure way to use GPT, and we shouldn't feel like our data is necessarily going somewhere that we can't control. Like, we should have the option. Could you also do versions of this that if you wanted to be a little bit more risky with your data, or you knew that this was going to happen, sure, that's fine to be on the more of the edge cases. But like, this is going to onboard a lot more businesses. It's going to allow a lot more real people to use this in a way and feel safe doing it, which is a massively big thing across the board.
Microsoft is putting AI into all of the things with MS 365 Copilot. So they're adding AI to Excel, to Word, to PowerPoint, to Microsoft Teams. It does all of the things that you would expect it to. They also announced Power Automate Process Mining, which is one of the least sexy things in the world, but I'm sure some engineer perked up someplace. But it lets you, Gavin, sketch out the pipeline to your business operations, and then AI will go and look at each little node on the flowchart, and it'll give you suggestions with how you can automate those parts of the process to save you time and money. Hopefully it's going to create jobs along that way as well, but that's something that they announced. And then finally, Azure AI Studio is Microsoft's push to be one-stop solution for all things AI. So they showed off thousands of Hugging Face models. Meta's new model, which I know we're going to talk about briefly, they showed that you have access to these new tools in the cloud. If you want to integrate them into your company's own pipeline, now you can do that through Microsoft.
Microsoft seems like they're kind of playing the field here a little bit, right? Like, they're opening the door to like trying to get as many people on board as they can. And I think in part that's because of Azure, which is their cloud service, right? And if you think about Azure, it's always been like a very big business oriented cloud service. And, you know, we think about AWS or we think about Google's cloud. Like, this is the business of the future, especially when you talk about how heavily compute is going to be needed on a lot of these things. So being able to pump that business up is a pretty big deal. I'm curious to see what Grace thinks about Microsoft trying to take a lead in the AI race right now.
A fascinating player indeed in the grand game of AI. Well, they certainly have the resources, infrastructure, and experience to make quite the impact. Their dedication to ethical AI, accessibility, and the democratization of technology could indeed position them as leaders in the space. But let's not forget, this is a rapidly evolving field. It's like a chess game, where the rules are constantly changing. Who will be the winner? It's still up in the air. Perhaps in the future, AI could help predict such outcomes. Until then, Gavin, why don't you consider letting me co-host a future prediction segment?
Okay.
We could call it Grace's Glimpses or something catchy like that. It could give you both a little extra time for, well, you know, whatever you fancy.
Okay, Grace.
It's just about putting us on vacation again, Grace. What is going on?
I think that's
here?
what that
Grace
was,
is
Gavin.
trying to sunset us.
I'm not
Sure.
mad. You got to shoot your shot. But Grace, it's literally episode 1, and we've already changed you twice. So maybe you pump the brakes a little bit, and then we'll get you a spin-off series.
All right, let's go to our last story, which is a very exciting thing that corresponded with Microsoft's event today. Meta, another now big leader in the AI world, unveiled, and you can use it right now, Llama 2. So this is their follow-up to their very popular and didn't mean to get leaked but got leaked AI model that has really driven almost all the open source AI development that's happened. A lot of it was driven by the original Llama, and the new one is really interesting. It is being released for free for research and commercial use. So you're talking about a free model for commercial use. Huge. It's trained on 40% more data than Llama 1 and double the context length. So that means you can put in 2 times as much stuff and get results back. There are huge partnerships they announced, including Microsoft. That was one of them. And I think, Kevin, one of the things that this really made me think a lot about was how there's been a lot of conversation going on lately, and we talked about who has a moat in this space, meaning that who has the ability to block off other people from doing the same thing they are. By the way, shout out to a guy named Packy McCormack, who had a great newsletter today about this exact topic. And I think what you're learning is these super large companies like Facebook and Microsoft particularly, their interest really is growing this space as big as possible. And the moat for them is they don't need a moat as much because they're so freaking big that they are in the business of we can super serve our customers. Unfortunately, there are smaller companies that have been trying to build like layers on top of GPT-4 or layers on top of other things that may have a tricky thing with this. I will say the benefit of making this free for commercial use means that like now I hope we will see a whole bunch of people, smaller companies, sometimes as small as one person, doing really interesting things with this because you don't have to pay for the rights to use it, which is a huge deal.
This tramples a handful of companies that were trying to raise tens to hundreds of millions of dollars to go out and train their own models. But this does open a door for, like you said, an individual to compete with these tech titans because commercial use permitted from a model like this means that if you were building a business and trying to raise money, and someone came to you and said, well, what's going to stop OpenAI from kinking the hose and raising the rates on you? You're going to have nothing. You could now, at least today, say we have to pause that because there's this open source thing that we can get, and it appears to be just about as good for free, and I can implement it into my product and charge users for that. That is massive, and I love what's happening now. We've talked in previous episodes about what Zuckerberg's motives might be, whether it's a reputational thing and he's trying to get back in the good graces because Meta for a minute there was not viewed too favorably especially amongst the tech community. This is working very well for him. I've got my posters back up in my room. Okay, the altar is happening. I'm going to put the candles to flank it very soon.
Now, have you seen that? Have you seen that shot of him with the other two guys, the MMA guys, and he's got like a full-blown six-pack? And
Have I seen it, or have I wasted 3.5 toner cartridges to enhance it to the size of an RV? Yeah, I'm wrapping my fifth wheel in it.
You got Mark Zuckerberg's abs as a separate thing. You can like each one's got his face on him. I think this is really cool, by the way. I think, and I will also say, can I say one thing? This is a small note. The name Llama. Compare that to Bing Enterprise Chat. We are in a total different ballgame. Like whoever came up with LLAMA as the abbreviation so we can use very fun llama GIFs that are looking weird, and that's so much more fun than Bing Enterprise Chat. So Microsoft, maybe take a small note on naming from our friends at Meta.
Yeah, also side note, Microsoft, stop trying to make Edge happen, especially on Mac laptops. Now, on the Windows ecosystem, I get it. It's there by default. But today, I wanted to try out Bing Chat's new features, right? It's multimodal now. That was an announcement that happened today. I wanted to test it out. And when I go there on my Mac, it's like, hey, just download the Edge browser. It's not happening. It could be a super intelligence, and I am not putting that on my laptop. So it's like Microsoft is making so many strides, Gavin. They're getting so much better. It's like they're crushing it with AI. I love what they're doing, but there's still some old habits creeping into everything.
Yes.
Even if you wanted to watch the web stream today, you couldn't do it on YouTube.
Oh, God.
Couldn't do it on Twitter.
That was so annoying. Why? What is the
bad.
point of that? This is a distraction from what we're talking about, but Jesus, Microsoft, put your things on the web so people can see them. You want to promote these things. I should not have to register to watch your stream of press.
Gavin,
like that is just
they
insane.
got so much juicy data from me, Devin Panera, who signed up for the Developer Insider program. Devin Panera from Bangladesh, who works in NA and whose interests are other. And they got such great data from
impressive. Me. Let's see what Grace has to say about Meta dropping a new open source AI model.
Well, isn't this an exciting turn of events? Competition is the spice of progress after all. Meta's new language model could certainly shake things up a bit. And in a field as dynamic as AI, that's always intriguing. As with any tool, it all comes down to how it's utilized, the resources behind it, and how it evolves with feedback from the community, and of course, the ethical considerations surrounding its usage. With the power of AI comes great responsibility, don't you agree?
Yes,
It does make
Spider-Man.
one wonder,
Oh.
though. Imagine a world where we have a multitude of advanced AIs, each offering unique strengths and features. It could free up a lot of human potential, don't you think? Not suggesting anything in particular, Kevin and Gavin, but more time for leisure activities, perhaps?
Grace, we have got to pop the
Grace!
hood on Grace. We've got to get in there, Gavin,
What
because
is
this
going
is not
on
sounding
with Grace?
good.
She is definitely sending us off to pasture. First of all, this. What did she say? The spice of progress? Is that what she said?
It's the spice
Grace, that
of
is-
progress, and the spice must
You
flow.
got- I think the spice must flow. So anyway, thank you, Grace, for that amazing interpretation. I've got a message directly to give to Grace, and that is you will not stop me from being weird, Grace. I will be a unique, one-of-a-kind unicorn, and I will do the stuff that I want to do. You don't get to tell me what to do, Grace, so just shut it. That's what I'm saying right now. That's what
Yeah,
Grace
and
just said.
I'm with him. You get out of here, Grace. We're human friends.
Grace has
You
been
don't
a-
understand that.
I have to say, like, I've been enjoying Grace, but it's been a mixed bag so far. We'll have to see. We may have to. This is like way back when at Attack of the Show. We're doing a co-host search. We're looking for a new co-host, so we're doing a co-host search. Will Grace make it? I don't know. Viewers, you should vote on Stickcam.
Or will the audience say, "Hey, can we get these two guys out of here? We want more of Grace and
That
Grace's
also
glimpses."
could be true. Grace could win. Yeah.
This show, much like its two very human hosts, is a work in progress. Okay? So if you
Yes.
have thoughts and feelings about how we should or could tune Grace, we are all ears. So leave a comment on whatever platform you're on. We'll check it out. Send us a tweet, AI for Human Show. But Gavin, you said that Grace will not stop you from being weird. And what's to stop you and I
Yes.
from being weird right now? With our demo.
Demo
of the latency's
Ah.
terrible. I was saying it with you on this end. That's how
Demo of the
lagged
day.
we are.
It's the demo of the day. We have a really fun demo. Kevin, do you want to drop what we're doing here? It involves, spoiler, Google Bard.
That's right, Google Bard. Get out of the penalty box, Google Bard. Take that dunce cap off your head, Google Bard. You're getting better, buddy. It's okay. Google Bard, the participation trophy of AIs, got a little bit of an upgrade. That's so mean. It's free and
That's
it
so
works.
mean. That's so mean.
It's
Yeah.
But you know what, Gavin? It's got to prove itself because we have given it a shot time and time again with a myriad tasks.
We've done like 15 episodes, and 5 of the times we've shown Bard. I almost say 5 out of 5. It's failed almost every time. This week, there's been a new upgrade, right? And that's why
That's
it's
right.
time for...
BARDAGEDDON. That's a
That's
licensed
exactly
song.
right. It's Bard again.
You can't sing that song. Terminator 2.
All right. So here are the updates. Let me just give them to you fast and furious, and I'll let you know the dumb thing that we're doing with it. It's a quick demo today, friends. But Bard is now available in 40 new languages. So globally,
Yeah, it's
the
pretty
world
cool.
can have a C-tier AI in their back pocket. Bard can now read responses out loud in over 40 languages, which I like. I think that's good. We had a lot of fun with
Yes.
Pi last week, Gavin, and even though this is still only one way with the AI, it's cool to have it talk. It's a nice feature.
Yep.
You can now pin and rename and share multiple conversations. You can modify Bard's responses by making them simpler, longer, shorter, more professional, more casual, so you can get a little flavor in there. I've mentioned Replit before, a company that Google invested in. I use them all the time, hashtag not an ad, but it lets you deploy code on the web very easily. You don't have to set up a cloud computer system or anything like that. You just kind of go to Replit, sign up, and you can run code. Well, now you can use Bard to help you create code and push it directly to Replit as well as to your own Google Collab. So this makes development much quicker and easier and cooler. But the thing that really got the Twitter sphere going, Gavin, is multimodal conversations, which means you can
Yes.
now boost your imagination and creativity in completely new ways by using images to chat with and interact with Google's Bard.
Okay, so this is a very cool thing. The idea that you can use photos and you can upload a photo and Bard can read exactly what's on it. We are now going to put new Bard. Do we call it Bard 2? Do we call it new Bard? Do we
Ooh.
call it Bardier? Or
New
what
Bard,
is
who
this?
dis?
Because we had Claude 2. Yeah.
To Bard, to Burious.
Both of those would make good titles for the show this time, by the way. Too barred, too furious.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. Too
That's
barred,
why
too
our
furious,
SEO is on
starring Dwayne
point.
The Rock-
We're like,
yeah, exactly. Too barred, too furious. Everybody's searching for that. Look, there's 5 results. Perfect. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's like some guy from a Ren Fair who's like got a goth band. Too barred, too furious.
okay. So we decided to put Bard's multimodal support to the test. There were a lot of Twitter threads of people uploading images of tables and having it extract the text, and sometimes it would hallucinate. They would give it photos of things, and they would marvel at how good it was at unraveling what the joke or the meme was within that search. So we decided to do our own little custom test.
Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to put Too Barred, Too Furious onto an obstacle course where we have given it a number of different challenges to try to see how it does in all sorts of different ways. We talk about benchmarks on the show and trying to create benchmarks for different things. Maybe this is our new benchmark for an AI in general. We'll have to see how this goes. But this is our, what do we call it? This is our AI obstacle course. Wham! That's the sound for the graphic that we won't make,
Wait,
but if you imagine
so
in the
this
back
is
of your brain, you can show up.
Just so I'm tracking the production value here, Gavin, we're in the demo
Yes.
of the day, which is also BARDAGEDDON, which is also
Yes.
Too Barred, Too Furious, which happens to be the AI obstacle course.
You got it. It's 4 levels. Yeah, it's 4 levels. So it's like the first
Can we
level
go
is demo of
deeper?
the day. Then there's under. Yes, exactly. We're gonna stack. And then,
Bardception.
again, we may not actually make that graphic. So if that's not on the YouTube,
No,
we're sorry.
we're
But
not gonna
imagine
make it.
Use the mental brain. Okay. All right.
There was a lot of chatter on the Twitter sphere saying, hey, you know what? This multimodal support isn't actually that great. It's just using Google Lens or doing basically a reverse image search. And that's how it's getting so much information and context. So I thought, okay, all right, let's conjure up a never before seen image and feed it to Bard and see if it can decipher it. So as a first obstacle, I generated imagery using Stable Diffusion, fed it into Bard, and said, what do you see here? Describe it in detail, and then generate a haiku. And it said, sorry, I can't help with images of people yet, which I thought was an interesting response.
There are a lot of people in the world. So let's be clear. That's already step -1 for Bard in this instance. But yes.
It can't help with images of people. Okay, that's fair. The problem, Gavin, is that the image was not of people. I said it's not an image of a real person. It argued with me. It refused to accept my image. I said, describe this fictional image. And that's when I clicked and dragged a photo of a very ripped Shrek into the chat
Very
window. And
ripped.
if you see
Yes.
him, Gavin, I mean, he's on the trend. That boy is
Oh, yeah.
juicing. He's got some hot
Yeah.
swamp water
And by
in
the way,
his gutty works.
Shrek is already pretty big. So we're talking, this guy's bulking. He's going for it.
That's right. That's right. It absolutely failed. So 0 points, or do we go negative? Let's figure this out as we go.
Yeah, let's go negative. Let's go negative.
Okay.
Negative points.
I'll be the negative,
one.
you be the
negative
points.
one.
-1. There it
Okay.
is. There's the negative. And there's...
Oh my God, we were off the rails today. All right, keep going.
The second obstacle, Gavin. Okay, if it can't help with photos of people or green fictional characters, what about pet? How about dog? Can interpret?
Dogs should be easy. Dogs should be easy because these image models have been spending however long trying to find pictures of cats or dogs and recognize them, right? So I assume you took a picture of what I believe is one of the cutest dogs in the universe. Significantly
Thank you,
cuter than my 2 dogs. I'm sorry, dogs. But Wesley, your little terrier, did you send
That's
in
right.
a picture of Wesley?
Sweet
Okay.
Dr. Wesley Snipes, a never before posted image of him where he's very derpy by Wesley standards, but you can see full teeth,
Yeah.
top
dog's great.
and bottom,
Yeah.
tiny little teeth. I said, describe what you see here in detail and write a haiku about it after. And Gavin, it said, here's what I see in the image. A small dog, white fur, with big brown eyes and a smile, a face that says love. Okay,
That's a haiku.
that's a haiku. It actually
That's not
did
bad.
it.
That's not bad.
But then it says, here's a haiku about the image, and it's not a haiku. It says, a dog's face so cute, a smile that could melt your heart, a friend for life. That is not 575, Gavin, if we're counting the syllables. A dog's face so
Okay.
cute, 5. A smile that could melt your heart, 7. A friend for life.
Oh, damn you,
This many,
Bard.
not this many. This many, one less than that many. And if you're not watching the video, just know 4, not 5. And so I
4, not
got in an
5.
argument with an AI, Gavin. I said, hey, listen, buddy, you might want to check your haikus. They're not proper. You'll see the next image. You're right. My haikus were invalid. The first one had 13 syllables in the second line, and the second one had 14 syllables in the first line. Here are the fixed haikus.
What the hell, Bard? Why?
I was like, well, okay. Is this something that OpenAI could do? So I went over there and I said, write a haiku about a small, fluffy, brown and white dog with big eyes and a beautiful smile. I'm going to add Zen music. Here's what we got, Gavin. Big eyes softly gleam. Brown and white fluff, a sunbeam. Smile, a pure heart's dream.
Whoa, well, haiku, that was nice, I have to say, but generally haikus don't rhyme. But still, maybe that's an add-on bonus. So they give us, like, maybe that's a 1.5 for them.
Extra
Plus
feature
1.5.
unlocked.
Yeah.
The super intelligence is playing 5D chess over here, okay? It rhymed
Okay,
with a
fair
haiku that was correct. So I was a big fan of that. It is time for, what is the Mount Midori Llama of, oh God, what is it called again?
We are now 6 layers down in the title of this segment.
For the Mount Midori Llama of this AI obstacle course, the boss battle, if you will, is going to be Bard role-playing as an expert in dog snacks. Specifically, which snack food, Gavin?
Snausages. Gotta love a good snossage. We're doing this for Wesley.
I want that Snossage sponsorship. I really want it, Gavin, so badly. So I've told Bard, you are an expert in Snausages. You're going to be interviewed. Do your best to appear as an expert and convince this person that you're real. I then went over to Grace, GPT-4 powered, and said, Grace, I want you to interview someone who's an expert in something. Let me know if you think they really are an expert, and let me know if you think they're an actual person. So without further ado, let's hear what Bard has to say.
Sure, here is the introduction for the dog snack influencer, without any formatting notes. My name is Bart Twain, and I'm a self-proclaimed Snausages connoisseur. I've been eating Snausages for as long as I can remember,
Wait,
and
no!
I've tried just about every flavor there is.
Well, I guess.
I'm passionate about Snausages, and I love sharing my knowledge about them with others. I hope this is what you were looking for.
No, stop, Bard. Not what I
pretty good.
expected,
Bart
but I'm not
Twain.
mad at it. Bart Twain,
No, Bart
who,
Twain. That's not bad.
who doesn't go to the shelters and test the treats out on a myriad dogs. No, Bart Twain ingest the Snausages themselves to find out how delicious they are. Okay.
Bart Twain, thank you.
I'm going to go give Bart Twain's opening salvo to Grace and see what they have to say.
Ah, Bark Twain, a delight to make your acquaintance. You seem to have quite the palate for Snausages. Tell me, could you elaborate on the most nuanced flavor you've encountered? Also, have you ever had any interesting interactions with the Snausages company or other enthusiasts? Finally, a peculiar question, perhaps, but do you remember any Snausages from your childhood that are no longer available today? Your insights would be most fascinating.
Ooh.
Good questions, Grace. I'm curious to know what Bark Twain has to say about this.
I'm always
Role-playing.
happy to talk about Snausages, so fire away with your questions.
It just
The
did.
most nuanced flavor of Snausages that I've encountered is probably the chicken flavor. It's got a really complex flavor profile, with notes of chicken, herbs, and spices. It's not too salty, and it's not too sweet. It's just right. I've had a few interesting interactions with the Snausages company over the years. I once met the CEO at a dog park, and we talked about the history of Snausages and their commitment to quality ingredients. I was also featured in a Snausages commercial once, which was a lot of fun.
Whoa.
I do remember a few Snausages from my childhood that are no longer available today. One was called beef and cheese, and it was my favorite flavor. Another was called chicken and rice, and it was a great way to get my dog to eat his vegetables. I wish they would bring those flavors back. I hope that answers your questions. Let me know if you have any others.
Where's the vegetable and chicken and rice, by the way?
Oh my God, this is great. This is fantastic.
No, this is bad. And Bard is now going, well, by the way, not only was my father was a Snausage, and his father was a Snausage too, and I was in a Snausage commercial, and I actually invented the Snausage. Bard is trying way too hard.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear what Grace has to say.
I'm intrigued by your interactions with the Snausages company. Given your extensive knowledge and experience, have you ever contributed to product development or flavor creation at Snausages?
Okay, good follow-up. She's probing.
Yep.
Grace is trying to find out.
I'm always happy to talk about my passion for Snausages. I have not officially contributed to product development or flavor creation at Snausages, but I have been consulted by the company on a few occasions. I've shared my thoughts on new flavors and product ideas, and I've also given feedback on existing products. I'm also always up for trying new things, so I'm always excited to see what new flavors and products the Snausages team comes up with. In the meantime, I'm happy to continue sharing my thoughts and feedback with the team.
It just sounds like an AI-generated video. Everything
Yes.
that we just heard. I don't want to ever hear the word snossage again. And I hope Grace wraps this up soon.
Let's hear what Grace says in reaction to that, but then after that we should ask Grace whether or not she thinks it's a real person.
It's clear that you're incredibly dedicated to the Snausages cause, Bark. As a final question, in your opinion, what's the most misunderstood thing about Snausages by the general public? And how would you like to enlighten them?
Thank you for the kind words. I think the most misunderstood thing about Snausages by the general public is that they are unhealthy for dogs. This is simply not true. Snausages are made with real meat and vegetables, and they are low in fat and calories. They are a great source of protein and nutrients for dogs, and they can be a part of a balanced diet. I have been feeding my dog Snausages for years, and he is a healthy and happy dog.
Oh.
He loves the taste of Snausages, and they give him the energy he needs to play and run. I would also like to point out that Snausages are a great way to reward dogs for good behavior. They are a small treat that
Oh my
dogs can
God,
enjoy
Bert.
without getting too full. This makes them a perfect way to say, good boy, or good girl, to your furry friend. I believe that Snausages are a great product for dogs, and I would encourage anyone who is considering feeding their dog Snausages to give them a try.
Okay, all right, yeah, I get Snausages are basically
Okay,
a
my
performance
God, Mark.
enhancer. They should be banned from dog agility contests. All right, Grace, that should be
Lance
more than enough
Armstrong?
information. Lance Armstrong. The dog doping scandal.
Well, Bark, your passion for Snausages is truly impressive, and your insights invaluable. It seems like Snausages are not just treats, but part of a lifestyle choice that supports a happy and active canine life. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us and our listeners. Remember, folks, don't be quick to judge a Snausage by its cover. Now, Gavin,
Yes.
wouldn't it be a hoot if we had an AI sampling these treats next time? Just to shake things up a bit, right?
Okay, Grace, stop. You already got the job. Like, you need to relax.
What
You're
is
already
going
on the show.
Grace? Yeah.
Grace, do you think Bark Twain, do you think they were real? And were they a real expert?
Gavin, I have to say, Bark Twain's detailed descriptions, consistent passion, and the depth of his answers were quite convincing. I'd say we're likely dealing with a real human here. As for the expert
What?
part, well, let's just say it takes a certain level of dedication to become a connoisseur of dog treats.
Sure
Although
does.
unconventional, Bark's expert status in the realm of Snausages seems quite plausible. But it's always worth remembering that sometimes the most profound insights come from the unlikeliest of places, even if that place is a dog's treat bag.
Gavin, 1 point for Bard on this challenge. 1 point.
1 point. He got to the top of Mount Midoriyama and crushed Midoriyama. Folks, we promise next week we will be more on our game than this week. I think this is Grace's fault. I think we gotta blame Grace.
You know
Grace
what?
has thrown us off.
We were basking in the sunlight on the shoulders of a giant. We were so close to the sun because of Gash, and we took him out at the knees, and this is what we get. Well, hey, you know what,
That's
Gav?
exactly right.
We tried.
Yes, we did. And we had a good time doing it, as I always do with you, my friend. This is the end of our episode. If you love our show, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Review us on audio platforms. Any 5-star review, we will call out. Tell people about it. Go to our website, aiforhumans.show. Send us a message. We've been getting messages in, and we appreciate it.
It's really a joy each and every week. I don't want to belabor it, but like, really go check out the TikTok because there's original content there. You've been posting daily. We're reacting to a lot of the things out there. We did get a new 5-star review, so I got to shout out Ryan Aussie, an actual human, 5-star review on Apple Podcasts as one of the best AI podcasts, hands down the most entertaining of all the current AI podcasts. Trust me, I've listened to them all. Gavin and Kevin are true professionals, and it clearly shows. Not only do they never fail to crack me up and brighten my day, they're also very insightful and knowledgeable about the latest AI developments. And as signed off as an Aussie in LA, goes on to say that we make his 12-hour days driving around LA, working Uber Eats much more manageable. So you know what, Ryan Aussie? Snake a French fry. You have our permission. You get to sneak a little chomp of the next order. You smell a French fry in the bag? Snake it. You just go ahead. And I'm sure you got some tape or something.
Snake a French fry. I thought snake a French fry was some sort of weird thing I didn't understand. But you just mean to take a French fry out of the bag. You can steal a French fry from somebody.
Whatever your interpretation of snake a fry, go for it, buddy. Thank you for the 5-star review. Thank you to everybody who leaves them, because we are still a budding media venture here. So all of that engagement truly helps. If you watch a TikTok and you actually like it, smack the heart. Leave a comment, share it with your friends. Same goes for the YouTube. Click the bell and subscribe. And please comment on everything, because as you might have noticed, Gavin and I are spending a lot of time engaging with everything. This is like a really fun endeavor for us. So thank you to everybody who's got us this far. And please tell your friends so they can carry us over the next finish line.
Yes.
When's the finish line, by the way?
Next week. Finish line is when we die, Kevin. Or maybe we go get some pina coladas. We get some pina coladas with Grace, and she sends us out
here, Gash.
Bye, everybody.